I imagine some of you are very excited about what Ellie just said. I imagine also some of you are quaking a little bit, maybe quietly, maybe visibly. Pretty provocative, requires a little bit of self-reflection, thinking, how does what he just said, apply to me? So welcome to Smart Choices for Challenging Times. I'm Marcella Canfor-Rolnick. I'll introduce myself. I like to think of myself as someone who innovates across multiple domains. I work in my family enterprise. We have an operating business that I work on corporate strategy with. We have started a new venture development and investment part of our business. And also we have, of course, our philanthropic activities. And what I'd love to do is to cross-fertilize the lessons and the insights from each domain to make each of our work in each of those domains stronger. Two of the more recent collaborations that I'm really proud of and really excited about is the relaunch of Joshua Venture, as well as the creation of the Lippmann Canfor Institute for Innovation in Jewish Learning and Engagement. You'll hear from me a little bit. I'm actually going to start by positing some frameworks that you might be able to use as you listen to our four panelists, as well as the rest of your time here at the conference. But I know you're probably most excited about hearing from our four smart, highly effective practitioners of innovation. And I'll invite them up in a couple of minutes. I expect that each of us will be wowed by what they as individuals, as well as the organizations they've been part of, have accomplished. But more importantly, apart from being wowed, I hope that each of us leaves this session with frameworks that help us understand and apply to our own distinctive styles of philanthropy, the kinds of insights that we hope to take away to help us choose our priorities in these challenging times with greater confidence. So I will start off with some frameworks that have helped the family foundation that I'm part of, as well as our businesses. The first is thinking about ourselves all operating within a system. We are not operating in a dichotomy. Innovation happens over here, and core infrastructure, or whatever the other piece is, happens on the other side. We are in a system, and it's helpful for me to think about the system as having three bands that operate in parallel and that actually create greater strength together rather than apart. The first band is direction keeping. You can also think of this direction keeping band as communal maintenance. And what it requires is excellence and execution of what works well today. And we know that there is a lot out there in the world that works well today. But alone direction keeping will not get us through tomorrow. There's also direction setting, the second band. Another way of thinking about direction setting is communal progress. How do we continuously push the envelope and improve what we have today? And the third band I call breakthrough. This is really step change innovation that hedges against discontinuities. Now, a lot of people equate innovation with breakthrough, but quite honestly, innovation does not only happen in breakthrough. There's the potential for it to happen in direction keeping and direction setting as well. So I invite you, as you listen to our panelists, to listen for innovation across these three bands and take lessons from them that you can apply in your own work. A second framework is for how we understand innovation and how we understand funding innovation. Most people probably think about funding innovation as funding innovators themselves or funding innovative projects. Sometimes this takes the form of social entrepreneurship. Of course, you can also fund innovative strategies. But what I'd like to focus on today is funding organizations with cultures that support innovation. This is really about an innovative culture that I want to talk about. What are some attributes of an innovation culture? One is aligning on the why of our work. Why are we doing what we're doing? And also, how? How do we do our work? Staying open to the hows. Most people only want to talk about and focus on the what. What are we doing? What's the tangible project that I'm funding? But I would say you're actually going to miss the boat and perhaps even do harm by focusing on the what and not the why and the how, first and foremost. A second attribute of an innovation culture is one where seeking information that disconfirms our hypotheses is happening, rather than only looking for those dots or those pieces of data that affirm our assumptions going in. How often do we sit in rooms and people say, oh, this happened, therefore what we're doing now is the right way? So rarely do we say, where is that dot or that piece of data that challenges what our assumptions are that we're operating on every day? A third attribute of an innovation culture is having a both-and mentality rather than an either-or. If you have an either-or mentality, it's very hard to innovate. Why? Because you are going along doing the business of your organization, and suddenly something happens out there, and you need to think, how do I deal with it? Well, if I'm going to do something else, either or, that means I have to give up what is comfortable, what is possibly working in some instances, and what I know. Very difficult to give that up. If you have a both-and mentality, you will keep going with the project or the work that's working, as well as start to pilot, to try, to experiment. Both-and allows for parallel work and cross-fertilization of lessons. A fourth attribute of innovation cultures is another mentality which I call how might we, or it's possibility thinking. So often we run into why can't we, as opposed to how might we. And actually in our family business, you'll hear people up and down the halls walking around saying, how might we, how might we? It's really taken root and it has transformed, or at least taken our culture to the next level. And lastly, innovation culture celebrates inquiry and self-reflection. It's not about placing blame, it's about learning from mistakes and growing stronger. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite our provocative and sharp panelists to please come up and sit down. And as they do that, again, I will invite you to look for yourself in the comments, to identify what are those preconditions for innovation, to help you decide how and to what extent will you fund innovation, in which band will you primarily work. What can we learn from our fantastic panelists on how to create an innovation culture?
Are we in the right order, Marcella?
This is perfect. Our first panelist is Ariel Beery, to my immediate right. Ariel is the co-founder and co-director of the Present Tense Group, a grassroots nonprofit social enterprise dedicated to growing the next generation of social entrepreneurs for the Jewish people. In his role as editor and publisher of Present Tense magazine, Ariel has organized over 300 volunteers to produce this magazine, which highlights young Jewish life and has over 30,000 readers. Ariel also directs the 6-week Present Tense Institute for socially minded entrepreneurs and runs think tanks in 6 cities around the world. Hopefully many of you have been reading his regular op-eds and haaretz on the topics of innovation and creativity, and now we have the pleasure of hearing him in person. Go ahead, Ariel.
Thank you. So hi, Boker Tov, good morning, and welcome to Florida. I feel much more at home in the warmth than I did in Chicago just a little bit ago. I have about 4 minutes, and I'll give a little bit of introduction of myself, and more importantly, I want to speak to the question at hand, and then maybe afterwards I'll tell you a little bit about what Present Tense does. So I'd like to first address the question of the why. I think that the why is the most important aspect. Once you get to the why, then you can start getting to the how. The why, in my opinion, of nonprofit in general, in terms of the work that all of you are doing, that we're trying to do, is very simple. It's about solving human problems. That's why we're here. We're not here for grandeur. We're not here for ego, at least we hope not. We're here because we identify that the world is broken, or pieces of it are broken, and that we have it in our capacity and our ability to fix it. Now, if the why is solving human problems, then the how should be, how do you solve those problems most efficiently? How do you solve them most effectively? Now, that's what innovation is all about. Innovation is identifying a problem in a system, in the market, wherever it is, and finding a more efficient and effective solution for solving that problem. In other words, if you think of nonprofit and the work that we're all doing as solving human problems, then innovation at its core is furthering that as an enterprise. Now, Present Tense as an organization took that framework and started thinking about how could you solve those problems best? What do people who are innovating, who need to be able to solve problems, need to do their jobs more effectively and more efficiently?